Okay, hello. My name is Christopher Welsh, and this is my friend
Hello, my name is Josh.
Josh Dini, and this is our experiment for Stats 244 winter quarter PSU. So first, a little introduction to our experiment. We were interested in texting and jaywalking because we feel like we see both of those often, so we wanted to see if somebody texting had any effect on whether they jaywalked or not. And so we designed this experiment to put them out of rest. And here's Josh with some backgrounds.
I did a little research and I found out that there are a lot of places where it's illegal to use a cell phone and walk around on the street at the same time. And it's doubly illegal to jaywalk and use a cell phone at the same time. Now, the studies that I found on the issue say that it is more dangerous to walk and use a cell phone at the same time, which is why these laws exist in the first place.
Okay, now I'm going to discuss the methodology, how we collect our data, and whether we think it's worthy of inference or not. So, how we collected the data was so here we are in the Onion dorms. Out this window is 6th Avenue and College Street, right across from the Cheerful Tortoise. So I just sat on my bed here and looked outside. Josh did the same in his room, and we observed 475 people combined. So and then we made a chart with 4 sections where we marked whether people were jaywalking or texting or not, neither or both. Here's the chart for one of us, both of us.
Both of us. That's us combined.
This is how we collected our data.
Actually, this is how we collected our data.
This is how we collected our data
With tick marks.
with tick marks.
Yeah.
This is my data. I looked out by the Cheerful Tortoise and found out here we have people who crossed legally without jaywalking and without texting. Here are people who didn't text but jaywalked. Here are people who texted and crossed legally. And here are people who did both jaywalking and texting. Very bad.
Very bad.
Very bad.
Very, very bad.
Very bad. This is a summary in a very clear form of both of our sets of data together. And we believe that because we collected such a large sample size, 476, that our data and our results of our test are worthy of inference for a larger population.
Okay, so since this is a proportion thing, we decided to do a two-proportion z-test. Our null hypothesis is that the proportion of people who do use a mobile device / electronic device in jaywalk / people who do use an electronic device and don't jaywalk will be equal. That's our null hypothesis. Our alternative hypothesis and our claim was that they will be different percentages. And we did this at a significance level of alpha equals 0.05. So here's our formula for our two proportion z-test. P hat 1 minus P hat 2 over the square root of P hat times 1 minus P hat times n over 1 plus n over 2. So then we had to find what our P hat, P1 hat, and P2 hat. P1 is people who used a mobile device or electronic device in jaywalk over all people who were jaywalking. And that is 41 over 271, which equals approximately 0.1513. Then P2, people who used a device and jaywalked over all people who didn't jaywalk, people who used a device and didn't jaywalk, that's a typo in there, was equal to 32 over 205, which equaled 0.1561. P hat is a weighted average of the preceding variables and is equal to n1 times p1 plus n2 times p hat 2, p hat 1, all over n1 plus n2, which equals all of that math you see there, and came out to 0.1534. N1 and N2 were listed on our first page. N1 is 271 and N2 is 205. So now we're ready to plug everything into our formula, and Z turns out to be negative 0.1441.
So from that test statistic for Z, we used normal CDF and input our test statistic, multiply that by 2 because that is a two-tailed test, and we got a p-value of 0.8855, and that's a very massive p-value. So obviously, our decision, we failed to reject the null hypothesis. We can summarize our data in the original context of the problem by saying texting really has no effect on jaywalking. That is to say that people are roughly equally likely to jaywalk or not, if they're texting or not. Okay, one implication of the study is that perhaps there's not um, as much of a basis for the distracted pedestrian laws as people think, because from our study we found that people are not really more likely to jaywalk uh, if they're using an electronic device. So in a lot of cases, maybe the distracted pedestrian laws don't actually say pedestrians, but we still think it's a good thing to put your phone away when you're walking across the street.
Or maybe people who jaywalk are already going to jaywalk, and people who aren't going to jaywalk are already not going to jaywalk. And just using a cell phone has no effect on that whatsoever. Our suggestion is that this topic gets more attention on the minute details. For instance, whether people who are actually involved in accidents in crossing areas or on the streets were using a cell phone versus people who were involved in those accidents and were not using a cell phone or electronic device. That would be our suggestion.
Okay.